From the vast lands of fantasy to the feel-good chick flicks, Alexandra Daddario is a very diverse actress, and it's clear that her talent knows absolutely no bounds. But that doesn't mean that all of her projects did her good. In fact, Baywatch pretty much ruined it for her. I mean, this movie was made to be a hit, and how could it have possibly missed when it had that sort of an exceptional cast? You got to see Dwayne Johnson, Daddario, and Zac Efron, all of them in one film together. Not to mention, Priyanka was the cherry on top. There's no doubt that Alexandra got paid super highly for this project, even if it didn't do as well as everyone thought it would do. And ever since Percy Jackson, this was one of her very first famous projects. All of this was way back in 2017, but she opened up about her feelings quite recently, talking pretty candidly about how the project felt for her. In many ways, she learned a lot through her role in the film, specifically because of how different this one was. It helped bring her profile up by a great amount, and suddenly, the job she was getting offered got a lot more interesting, but not always in a good way. She got stereotyped into a certain kind of role, and she probably felt quite suffocated in whatever she was doing. Still, she has never been one to regret, and is thankful she went for the film. Many celebrities get quite upset when they're typecast, and they're pretty valid for that. I mean, as an artist, everybody wants to experiment around with different kinds of roles, and if they start being perceived as only one type of character, yeah, it can get pretty annoying. Not for this one though. She felt that it opened up tons of opportunities for her, even if she didn't necessarily like the kind of attention she was getting. I mean, in plain words, she was being sexualized for the most part, but she's still making the bag. Not just that, but she's getting way more experience than she had before, so it makes sense why she doesn't regret it. One might think maybe the fact that Baywatch flopped negatively affected her, but it's not the case, because at the end of the day, the actress shined brighter than ever, and all that mattered was the fact that people saw her. So her potential made her stand out to the crowd that mattered. But there's a reason why she valued this project so much. I mean, her career was at an absolute standstill. This was probably really hard for her to open up about, but it does help us to understand why she's so glad to have taken up Baywatch. If you've been wondering where she had been before the pandemic time, she simply wasn't getting the kind of work that mattered. In a person's life, this is the time when things start to feel a bit too stagnant, and she probably felt that she wasn't personally growing at all. Now, that must have probably sucked. It's hard to tell exactly what movies she's talking about, but there were quite a few that didn't hit the mark. If I were being honest, they failed the mark by absolute miles. Don't worry, it wasn't her fault, but Die in a Gunfight and Lost Girls were only two of the movies that have some questionably low ratings online, and it's probably only because the movies had some pretty lazy scripts with mostly nothing to stand on, apart from Daddario's good looks, of course. But it all changed very quickly. The White Lotus was a proper breaking point. This is where she got to perform as Rachel, a stunning newlywed, and she did so well in this role, it was absolutely unbelievable. I mean, I could have never imagined her in a role like that, but that was probably what she needed to start her career right back up. Now, people saw that she wasn't just good at looking hot. She could put life into a whole character with its own personality. And it's not just me, the entire world saw it. The 2022 Emmy nomination then became only the beginning, because now she was doing something she loved, and all the right kinds of people were noticing her talent. After White Lotus, she had projects like The Mayfair Witches and Wildflower lined up, and she's got a long, amazing few years ahead of her. So yeah, this is when you knew that she was way ahead of her bad, dumbed-down roles, but it's worth looking back to see exactly when her career peaked. Unsurprisingly, it was a nude scene. Don't worry, because she's pretty much aware of this. In fact, she talked about how the nude scene from True Detective truly shifted her career. She could have never expected things to have worked out the way they did, especially because she only appeared in 4 episodes of the HBO series, and this was even before Baywatch back in 2014. Now, she wasn't forced into this. She made a very tactical decision to appear nude on screen, but you can't judge her yet, because there's quite a story behind this fact.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great title, and then I read the script, and it's an incredible script with a lot of heart, a lot of drama, and it's really fun. And
a glamorous life, but I don't think I have the stamina for it. I'm a pretty simple person, unfortunately.
Yeah, but that makes you awesome.
Thank
Stay
you.
that way.
And so those moments you have to take very seriously so no one gets hurt. So we had a good combination of days where, you know, it's a different.
While talking in an interview, she recalled how she was having a tough time with her career. This is the time when she was struggling to get meaningful roles, and nobody was ready to take her seriously. I mean, how could they? They had no idea what she was capable of.
Yeah, I mean, I understand why people think that. You know, we're very good friends and we play love interest in the movie, and we have, I think we have good...
I worked very hard on getting into bikini shape.
I love when you add cutout ice cream. Like, you didn't do that ever before.
No,
like, that was the first
No, he's great.
Yeah,
he's
was that the
fun,
first
too.
time playing?
Yes, it was my first time meeting him, and you know, I had a chemistry test before I booked the role, so I had
Last weekend.
Yeah.
And she went to a yoga place called Moto Yoga, which is my yoga place. It's
Right.
where I always go. They have places.
So it's not surprising that she had to fight for the role in True Detective. Just imagine the kind of relief she must have felt when she finally got it, after spending so long fighting for it. Obviously, she wasn't just going to let this opportunity go to waste, because even though it was a small role, she still wanted to make it count. And folks, that's exactly why it happened. But there's more to it. Desperation drove her to insane lengths. Now, she hadn't expected any of this to happen, because it doesn't make sense for an actress to go fully nude in a small role. It's usually big roles that make it worth all that hassle. But she decided it was time, and that's when she went naked on screen with her co-star Woody Harrelson. Almost as though in the blink of an eye, her entire life changed.
Well, it's nerve-wracking because he's so attractive.
Yeah.
But it's nice.
I just want to clarify that
Thank you.
they asked.
Okay.
And, you know, it is, I have to say, you know, to everybody.
Each other,
Yeah, I mean, I didn't actually see that comment. That's an amazing comment. Yeah, we would have very blue-eyed children, wouldn't we?
Not a bad thing.
The very next morning after that episode went on air, her manager called to tell her that the phone just wouldn't stop ringing. The impact was so intense and so quick, everybody wanted to meet her. And just a few days after this unbelievable moment, she decided on going with San Andreas. Suddenly, she was the super hot woman who was capable of capturing millions of people. And though her talent went way beyond just her looks, this is what made her stand out. I mean, you couldn't blame anybody. Have you seen just how pretty she is? Still, this kind of response was something that came as a complete shocker.
The worst thing about working with Alex? That's impossible. But honestly, we were on the beach all...
I think in the first movie, she's very tough and she's this warrior and she's wants Percy to prove himself to her.
And at the end of the day, she knew that deciding to go nude was the one thing she needed to end the spell on her entire career. But things are a lot better now. She's soaring much greater skies, and you best believe it, she'll be getting much classier roles from now onwards. It won't just be about her showing skin and trying to capture the masses, but she'll do the things she loves, and I can't wait for that. But that's all we've got on Alexandra Daddario's past roles. See you in the next video.